And we're on to our next game, SMU Penn State.
Yep.
That's a fascinating one because it was like the circumstance for SMU. It's like we've heard some people go, "Oh well, SMU shouldn't be in." What they do? They got a participation trophy. They don't deserve being. A lot of people have been like, "Yay, they're in." But for Penn State, on the other hand, James Franklin's reputation is he can't win the big game.
Yep. I know this is there's kind of a lot of forces colliding as you kind of outline there. This game, of course, is going to be in state college. I think that's a big advantage. It's boy, Penn State all year long. Penn State fans all year long have been kind of complaining about some of these noon games, even though Ohio State got a lot more noon games than Penn State. But it seemed like that Ohio State game, it got taken to another level. Yet they can't avoid the noon game. Fox is not involved in this at all, yet they somehow get a big noon kickoff. So I think I kind of chuckled at that when that happened over there. But, all right, in terms of this game, Penn State's just got to keep it humming. They got to keep it rolling. They had their best offensive performance. Maybe we'll talk about defense in a little bit, but they had their best offensive performance of the season in the Big Ten championship game. Right? They rushed for nearly 300 yards, had over 500 yards of total offense. Drew Aller was confident. He looked certainly really good throwing the football down the field in that game. So you got to keep up that confidence. Andy Kotelnicki, he was rumored for the West Virginia job. He's sticking around. That's great. Like, we'll see what the coaching cycle looks like, because if we do get some dominoes later on in the coaching cycle, Andy is a guy that could certainly be mentioned. I think he's going to make a really good head coach someday. But for now, Penn State is very thankful to still have him as the offensive coordinator right now. But I kind of look at Penn State's matchup on offense versus SMU's defense. Look, SMU fourth in the country against the run. All right, so that's going to be, I think, a pretty good on good matchup. I mentioned Penn State's rushing performance last week against a very good Oregon defense. But SMU is 91st in the country against the pass. I think, and I kind of watch SMU. I look at their film. I look at their personnel. And then I look at 44 in blue and white. I look at Tyler Warren, right? He received, rightfully so, he received a good amount of Heisman votes, right? Kind of on the lower end of the ballot. But he's a monster out there. And I look at kind of what SMU has from the secondary perspective. I think they're going to get it to him early. I think they're going to get it to him often because, look, he's a matchup nightmare, whether they're playing Oregon or whether they're playing Ohio State or Coastal Carolina or SMU. It doesn't matter who they play. He's a matchup nightmare for anybody on defense when you combine his size, his speed, his athleticism, and what he can do also taking snaps out of the shotgun in the run game. I think we're going to see more from that for Tyler Warren because of the transfer of Bo Pribula, of course, no longer being part of this Nittany Lions program. He was involved in some of those packages, but I think they're going to get it to Warren often in the pass game. I think they're going to throw to run, so to open up those run lanes. I talked about the great rushing performance of Nick Singleton and Katron Allen last week as well, but kind of like the Oregon game. What happened? They were looking to 44. They were getting it to him. And then Oregon shaded their defense in their direction. They shaded their coverages. They started to double, right? They started to have someone on him and then someone over the top on his side. And then what happened? Amari Evans, a receiver, got open. Harrison Wallace, a receiver, got one-on-one matchups. If that happens, I think Drew Aller can certainly take advantage of it in this game.
Well, and he's had that reputation of not being able to win the big one. So
if
he can do that, he'll be good to go.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I know you kind of talked on that before, but this is he's got the talking point with Penn State has been their route, right? Oh boy, look at Penn State. They love the current format of the 12-team playoff, right? You get SMU at home, you get Boise State in, what would that be, Arizona, right, at the Fiesta Bowl out there. State. Yeah, you feel really good. You feel really good about that path right now if you're the Nittany Lions. So you just got to take care of business. You need to be focused on the here and the now. I know a lot of people are talking about the future for Penn State, but yeah, you got to be focused on the here and now. SMU, I forgot where they are. I mean, I know where they are from a seeding perspective. I know they're around 10, 11, 12 from a rankings perspective as well. But yeah, this would be certainly a step in the right direction. But I think when people talk big game with James Franklin, I think that they would talk that potential semifinal, even though you got to give credit to SMU and Boise State. These are both teams that are floating around the top 10. And if James Franklin can get victories over both of these teams, that's certainly a step in the right direction. That's certainly building a lot of confidence. That's certainly building a lot of momentum. I look at Penn State right now. If they continue to play their best, they've got players in key spots to be able to do this thing, right? Because we talked about their path. You get to the semifinals, and I think they would potentially match up against Georgia or whoever comes out of that bracket towards the bottom of the bracket with the number 2 seed down there. It would be Georgia, Notre Dame, and Indiana, I think, are that cluster of 3 that they would match up with in the semifinals. So if this team, like what I'm looking for Penn State against SMU and Boise State, who they are clearly better than, they're touchdown. I think they're 8.5-point favorites last time I checked against SMU. They're probably going to be close to more than a 10-point favorite against Boise State. Take care of business, right? Don't play with your food, so to speak, against these teams, because this is an opportunity to really for yourself to prove, hey, that we are a national championship contender team, right? We got to go out there, take care of business, put these guys out fairly early in this matchup, and then see what happens in the semifinals. But this is a Penn State team. We'll see about their defense, but this is a Penn State team that appears that it may be gelling certainly at the right time.
Yeah, and it's funny, though. Who'd have thought after week 2 where SMU lost to BYU, we would be looking at them as, oh, they're that playoff team. And the funny thing was, the narrative at that time was they can't compete in the ACC. They barely beat Nevada. Oh, they lost to BYU. Yeah. They're not going to do anything. And at the same time, we didn't think we'd see Florida State go 2-10.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, you're right. You're right. That was I forgot who it was against in week 0, but you mentioned it on Nevada,
Georgia Tech, and Florida.
Yeah, it was for SMU, that close game against Nevada, a G5 team, and then losing to BYU. It certainly didn't start good for the Mustangs. Now I know to start the season, Preston Stone was their quarterback. I live in my Big Ten bubble over here, so excuse me. But eventually it drifted towards Kevin Jennings. And Kevin is a good quarterback, over 3,000 yards, 22 touchdowns this season. He can scoot. He's got some mobility. But yeah, once they made that switch, it appears that SMU, it's as a college football history buff, so to speak, it's cool to see SMU right in the top discussion for the first time since the 80s. If there was ever a team that was going to be successful in the pay-to-play era, it's the SMU Mustangs. So I'm glad that, and it's crazy. We all know their deal. They're taking no media revenue, I believe, from the ACC to get in, because I think they got no media revenue and they were completely funded and stuff by their boosters over there to be able to make that switch. And I think Cal and Stanford, who also came in this year in the ACC, I think they still get some, but they get some ACC media revenue, but it's certainly a very much of a partial share over there as well. So, but it's interesting to see them come into the ACC with no media revenue. And some people say, hey, they forced their way in with big boosters and influential people and all that. And that's great.
They've earned it.
But credit to them. Credit to them for coming into this conference year 1 and doing this. Like, SMU is a program where this is a team that could have a lot of money coming into their program right now. And that's a program over the next 5 to 10 years. I would certainly watch out for them to certainly continue to make the rise. We'll see what the ACC looks like in 5 to 10 years, certainly. But SMU is a program that I think is certainly going to be a lot more attractive to coaches, to recruits, maybe even other potential conferences down the road, certainly as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun to certainly watch the Mustangs. And I love their logo. I love their color scheme. Their uniforms. I just think it's a great combination, certainly. So it's cool to see SMU on this stage.
Oh, there we go. The ACC's Texas team.
Just like everybody planned it out 10 years ago, huh? It's like, ACC, Stanford and Cal. When you think of the Atlantic Coast, You think of the Bay Area, obviously.
The band is all over the field. Oh man, that's just so funny. Oh man, but like you said, Penn State's got an easy path; they can get it
Sure.
done.